creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws.
Welcome to the King Street Cinema podcast. My name's Andy. On this episode we'll mainly be focusing on what was the first ever summer blockbuster, which is coming back to the big screen at King Street at the beginning of July. I'm joined by semi-pro host James Rowe from King Street Cinema. How you doing?
Doing nice, yes. How are you?
Nicely. I'm good. I'm good. George, should we just go straight into it?
Why not?
It's a classic, iconic movie, up there with probably the most iconic movies ever. I'm not sure if it was actually one of the most successful. It was very successful.
Sure. Hugely successful.
Hugely successful.
I mean,
huge.
So big, no one would have could even have foreseen or imagined how big.
Bigger than Bruce the Shark itself. The shark was called Bruce, you know.
Yes, I did know that. Yeah, they gave it a name.
Yeah, Bruce. Good name.
Yeah.
That's... How did you first see this movie? Obviously, it was released at cinemas before either of us were born.
Certainly, yes.
Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I could not say necessarily the first time, but yes, I remember seeing it very little as a little child, and it having a big impact on me. Yeah. And it probably, like some of the memories I have of it, you know how memory is. It's not necessarily what actually happened, but it's your memory. I do remember like images of it, right, as seeing it as a child, and those images come to me in my head as being like the first time, like the opening, right, the very classic, famous opening scene. I just remember that so well, vividly seeing it for the first time and being, really taken with it. I wouldn't say it was the part that scared me the most, but it did that thing which I think it's supposed to do, which is to make you feel dread. Yeah. Like I felt like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, am I going to be able to watch this film? Sort of thing. So that's certainly a very strong memory, visceral memory I have of the first time, at least what I believe to be the first time I saw the film. And I had to have not been any older than 6.
Yeah. So was it something? Do you remember accidentally discovering it, or did you sit down?
No, it was definitely something that was talked about in the house. Yeah. Big cinema house, movies, film directors. Spielberg was talked about loads, as being an important filmmaker, like one of the most important ones, especially in American cinema for certain. So it would have been a film that would have been shown to me. At that point, so what are we talking about? Late 80s. It's just seen as a classic, obviously, at this point, and probably not that big of a deal for kids. It's probably a PG, I would have thought.
Well, that's something I did want to discuss, because when it first came out, it wasn't a PG. I'm pretty sure that it was a higher certificate.
Yeah, sure, probably.
And I can remember it being a PG.
Yep.
I've had a DVD copy of it, which was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And the current...
It's 12 now, isn't it?
12.
It's been 12 for a bit, I think, but I do remember...
But you like me, you remember it being PG
Absolutely,
as well?
It certainly was PG. Like, I can remember the video covers of it being PG.
Yeah, because some of the sequels are PG.
Yeah.
But the whole PG-12 has been for years changing different reasons. They've got different certificates. It's like now the original Ghostbusters is 12, for example, and that was always a PG.
Right.
But then sometimes with physical copy releases, you get bonus content with maybe extra swearing in, so films go up that way.
Yeah.
Like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. The laser disc of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is a 15.
Yeah.
But that was a PG at cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this film was kind of pushed as a more of a horror back then.
Certainly.
So I'm not sure whether it was
thriller. Certainly, yeah.
So in America, it was possibly an R, because that might have been before.
I think it was an R.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah. Because it might have been before PG-13.
Well, but certainly, without question.
Because the first one was another Spielberg film, The Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
So, probably an R. But if you're not aware, in America, you can go and see an R-rated film with an adult.
At any age, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably why, because it was I've always seen it pushed as, yes, a bit of a horror, but also a family-friendly film. But I think that's come afterwards.
Yeah, it has, definitely. And I think the idea of family-friendly has changed a lot. So in the 70s, there were films that Disney made that were clearly aimed at children, for the most part. Yeah. Certainly adults could enjoy them, and there would be stuff thrown in there for them. But the idea of family movies, I don't quite know if that thing really existed. Yeah. And the idea of making something that was very suspenseful and truly scary for younger audiences specifically didn't exist. I don't think it existed.
Yeah. So
I think Jaws at the time of making it would have been certainly just seen as a film that this is for adults.
Yeah.
Not and again, not with the same mind frame that we think of that today, where you'd go like, right, this is specifically like an 18, in mind. That wouldn't have been the case. It wouldn't have been thought like that. It would just been like, this is something that for an older audience, which very well could have been seen as just 12, 13 onwards sort of thing.
Yeah. Another thing that a lot of things went wrong on set. The shark wouldn't work. Blah blah blah.
Yes.
Possibly the film would have been more violent if the shark had worked. Like the opening scene, for example, which is iconic. I keep saying iconic. I don't know why.
That's fine. It is at this point. I know it is an overused term these days. You hear all the time, but it is true. Yeah, it certainly is iconic.
But you were supposed to see the shark.
Yes.
At the beginning.
Yes.
And it all went a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it works well not seeing the shark.
Of course it does. I mean, this is all after the fact kind of things that we say, how well they made it because they didn't show the shark and stuff like that. And of course, when you're making a movie or making anything, whether it's the TV, book, whatever, you don't start with what you finish. That's just never the case. And sometimes it works, sometimes it won't. This is obviously clearly something that did, where Spielberg, for all the reasons that I'm not a huge fan, you have to give him credit that he knows how to craft a well-told story, as simple and as simplistic as generally his films are. He does it extremely well. He knew how to, even at his young age of 26, he knew how to give suspense, to be able to show suspense without giving away the mechanics and everything else that came with the shark. That it's the mid-70s. It's not. We're not quite there yet with great visual effects when it comes to monsters in this. Without going the model route, which obviously they didn't want to do because they wanted it to look as realistic as possible.
And I think when you do see the shark, which I did read that you don't even see the shark till 55 minutes through.
Yeah.
So nearly halfway through the film, it's 2 hours 4, I believe.
Yeah.
This whole it's a rubber shark. If you look at it, it looks quite real. I think.
I've never seen a shark in reality.
I've seen it on telly, though.
You've seen it on telly.
I've never seen a rubber shark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, when it is on screen, most of the time it's there and it's gone. Like, you hardly see it at all. And with it being that quick, it's generally okay.
Yeah.
There is a bit late on in the film, fantastic scene, classic stuff, Robert Shaw, phenomenal, where you see a lot of the shark.
Yeah.
And at those moments you do go, Now, greatly, like I say, because the filmmaker is so well adept at making something that isn't real look real, and the actors are so good, and they really are in this movie. They sell it well enough that you believe it. You believe it enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure, and especially if you've seen it for the first time and you've seen it when you're young, it just sticks with you as being something that you believe in. You truly believe in. I think if you saw it now for the first time with a lot of other movies with similar kind of storytelling and whatever about whatever monsters in general, you'd go, yeah, it's nice, but you see it's not real.
A lot of it, I think, is the 3 sequels, which nowhere near as good films.
No.
They tried to show more of the shark in them,
Sure.
and then you notice more. It looks.
Oh,
like
absolutely, of course.
That's and a lot of my memories of this, I watched it on TV or video as a kid. I can't remember exactly how, but I reckon my parents showed it to me. But I watched some of the sequels around the same time, and my memory blurs of what's from what film and what. It wasn't until I rewatched the original Jaws probably 5 years ago. I've watched it since then as well. That I was like, right, okay, that's all the stuff from the first one. Because I'm 41 now, so it would be well over 30 years ago I first saw it.
Well, I remember them quite differently. I didn't mix them up because I saw the second one loads and loads. I think it was taped off the TV, so it was always there.
I remember that one being on TV a lot.
Yeah, so that was in the house, and we watched that quite a lot. The first one I didn't see over and over again. Didn't have it taped off the television. I think it was either lent or rented as a kid, and I probably saw it as a child maybe 2 or 3 times. So it wasn't until I was older, in my late teens, I think early 20s, I went back to it, got a copy of it myself that I had, and I saw it a whole bunch of times after, because I do think it's an extremely well made film. My memory of them were very separated.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't read, but I can see how you would, because mix them up, because they are, when you're watching them as a kid, you don't really notice too much the differences with directors. You don't see perhaps the subtleties.
They weren't films that I went back to in my 20s or anything.
Right.
It wasn't until more recently that I started watching them again. I think I actually watched them again because, and I like Spielberg as a director, but I was getting a bit fed up with him just doing more serious stuff.
Right.
And I just wanted to watch. I know this isn't a comedy, don't get me wrong, but it is a monster movie.
It's a monster movie,
so
certainly, yeah.
I wanted to rewatch it.
Yeah, sure.
And I rewatched this and Jaws the Revenge, Michael Caine classic, which will never get another cinema release probably.
No,
but that's it. But it was the first summer blockbuster, but also it paved the way for sequels doing worse and being rushed out and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because it was 12 years in between them. Was it Jaws?
Which one?
Jaws the Revenge was 87, wasn't it?
Right. So by the time
years in between all four.
When you get to the fourth one,
which kind of in Back to the Future 2 they make the joke of, was it Jaws 5000 or something? Or
Jaws 19.
19, okay.
Something like that.
Okay, not quite that. I'm probably thinking of no, he says Spaceballs is Rocky 5000.
yeah.
Sorry, so Jaws 19, which probably, if it goes by that would have worked.
Probably, I'm sure they probably just thought of the numbers and went, okay, what would it be if it was? What was it? 2015, isn't it?
Yeah, so would it?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's set in the future, which is now the past.
Scary.
Don't like it.
So the films slowly. I mean, the third one was in 3D.
Yeah,
which was a bit of a trend to have the third
very
one.
much so, was it? Because when was that? Sort of 83? Was it 83?
Could have been.
I think it might have come out something like that. That's one I've only seen once, and again young.
That's the one where the shark famously roars, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah. Is it set in a theme park of some kind?
Like Dennis Quaid, isn't it?
That sounds about right. Like I say, I've only seen it once, and it was, again, around the same time, maybe a couple of years after seeing the first one. Yeah. So, as a kid, I don't really remember it very well.
I've got 2 and 3 on DVD that someone gave me, because I think they upgraded to the Blu-ray, and I need to rewatch them. But yeah, we mentioned the actors. I mean,
brilliant! Yes,
the 3 leads.
Yeah,
3 legends.
Yes, one's still alive.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah,
but
he's still happy to talk about the film as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I heard he's gone a bit strange apparently.
Well, he didn't get on with Robert Shaw on set.
Well, I'm not surprised by that. We're talking about Richard Dreyfuss here.
Yeah. He's getting on, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Hasn't he gone a bit like, everyone's woke or something? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But, so he's turned into the character from What About Bob?
Pretty much.
Yeah. But he's one who, I've read stories about him not getting on with Bill Murray and him not getting on with Robert Shaw, but then there are 2 people who probably didn't get on with people anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I could imagine Robert Shaw, finding it difficult with certain people.
Yeah. And he died only a few years after it, didn't he? 1978.
Did 78 heart attack. He was in his 50s.
Yeah.
So not old, but
yeah. And the son, is it Rob Steiger?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't say Rob Schneider by mistake. Rob Schneider's son in it, who was the sort of 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
He died very young of a heart attack as well.
Right.
He was late 30s, and he actually stopped acting after and lived on the island and worked on the island, because it's all shot on one island, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm not sure. It's in New England. I'm not sure. Is it in
Amity?
Yeah. Is it really called?
I think it is. Really
is it really called that? Right. Because
so.
you think Amity or Amityville.
Yeah.
That connection there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think.
I know that came later, but I think the story probably existed. But But that area. But Amityville is a real place as well. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Is it New York State? It's definitely
I'm not
it's
sure.
Definitely northeast, sort of New England, old America.
Because apparently, if you go to this island. And you're a fan of the movie, you'll just recognise it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you would.
So,
yeah, sure.
I watched a documentary about it, but that was made in 2008. So, a while ago now. And they do, like, the Jaws Festival there, and there's some of the stuff still there.
Of course. It would be a complete tourist trap,
Pilgrimages.
Absolutely, of course.
And Jaws, it's not gone out of the... the pop culture. It's like you still get the toys of it made. The merch is still probably as popular now as ever. That's what I will talk about. I mean, the three main actors. Rob Steiger went on to be in... Was he in one of the sequels?
He was in the second one.
He was in the second one.
This is why you might get, I can understand.
And then his wife... She's in the fourth one.
Yes, to come back.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Is she in the second as well?
Laurie Gray. Laurie Gray is... I'm sure she is, yes. Yeah. Yes, of course she is. The whole family,
But they're not in the third.
No.
That's complete. So that's probably why I get some of them mixed up. But he was in the second one, and he's the actor I connect mostly with Jaws.
Right.
But obviously we've got Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss as well. None of them two come back for any of the sequels.
No. Dreyfuss would, I'm sure, probably was asked.
Yeah.
But would have, I'm sure, just declined it.
Yeah. Went on to do loads and loads and loads.
So. I know Roy Schneider did not want to do it. No. He was just given loads of money, I think. Yeah. Just told, here, have all this cash, basically, and come back.
Because I only really know him personally from, I'm an 80s, 90s kid. That and Sequest DSV.
Right. I can understand that. Now, I mean, for me, he's one of, in the 70s especially, new Hollywood actors, right? Real important.
Yeah.
He's in The French Connection with Gene Hackman.
Which I have seen,
fantastic in that.
I think I got his name
Marathon Man. Plays a small part in Marathon Man, but important role. That's with Dustin Hoffman. That's a brilliant film.
I've seen that as well, but I don't connect him.
Right.
But I did get his name wrong, but you got it correct just then.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to edit.
That's all right.
I'll just apologise.
Okay. And Sorcerer, which if no one's seen, you should definitely see that movie. Sorcerer is a fantastic film by William Friedkin, and he's one of the main leads in that.
Not seen that one.
No, I definitely should see that film.
He died in the 2000s.
I
can remember his death, and it was on the news and stuff. But you've got to think this film is nearly 50 years old.
Yeah.
So there's,
it's almost there,
yeah. The characters would have all been adults, which is it's a weird one because kind of different to films that came after with Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
It was focused on the adults. The kids were just there. So that's another reason that
If we're talking now, this is interesting. I agree. That's certainly the case. But what he did, which I think was what is so important to the sort of the creation of the family movie almost, or the scary family movie, is this film. Because what he does very well, though it's small in the film, is show the importance of family and the closeness, the connection with the adults and their kids.
Yeah.
That's pivotal to the film as far as the heart of the film.
Yeah.
And that's Spielberg all over, is that.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the first, if not one of the first, if not the first time that I think that's really ever been seen in a film. I think.
Yeah.
The sort of family, this family connection with adult themes.
Yeah. Then I suppose Poltergeist.
Yeah, which comes later.
Yeah.
But that's the same. That's Spielberg all over.
And when I did rewatch this, it really those two films are more alike than I remembered.
Oh, completely.
He obviously only produced Poltergeist, but it's got
so
Spielberg.
you say.
Yeah. It's got Spielberg all over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the plot is relatively simple.
Oh, completely. That's important.
Yeah,
that's completely important. If you bog down in loads of plot, loads of backstory, loads of this, that, and the other, which has nothing to do with just there is a shark eating people, then people just get bored.
Yeah, I mean, if it was made now, there'd be a romance thrown in.
But there's no need if you already have that's happened already.
Yeah, exactly. But there would be, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Dreyfus would have some sort of. Do you think his character?
Yeah.
Matt Hooper.
Did I read something that there was meant to be some sort of romance with him, and it was edited out? Or
possibly. It might have been in the book. The book was very much. I haven't read the book, so I can't say for certain. But just what I've read about it is that it was the film is a lot different. To the book. And I think that's a lot less, action orientated, or the simplicities of the film are not really what the book are. The book is a lot more about character than shark.
Yeah. Okay. So, but it's simple plot. Which do we have to? Shark shows up basically.
Yeah. For no reason. Why? But why give it a reason? I mean, it's just a shark, right? It doesn't have to have a reason. I mean, if you ever read about the sort of critical analysis of this film after it came out, all the ideas of what it represents,
Watergate.
Watergate, it's one of them, and one of the main ones, obviously, which had just happened, so I can understand that. There's a lot of cynicism at the time, but about governments and authorities and whose power and all this kind of stuff. But why? It doesn't really need to be that, does it? It's just a shark, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a scary movie.
Scary movie,
But I like the simplicity of it, and something this simple, but it's influenced so much.
Yeah.
I think it's time to talk about two things: the iconic poster to start with, with the shark looking up at the woman.
Yeah.
I mean, within the same year, that was spoofed to death, apparently. And it is that image is the thing you see on T-shirts. It was originally the cover of the book.
Yeah.
That image, and they gave it to them for the film just to help them, and apparently regret that because they could have made lots of money. And that was done by Roger Costell, who done loads of books and that sort of thing at the time, basically pulpy type stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what he's most famous for now. And
but that's really what that is. It is very pulpy. It's
and it is that people have tattoos of that, and you see, and it is a very simple image, and it sold the film
completely.
And then the music, John Williams, who probably mainly done TV stuff before this. I imagine he'd worked with Spielberg on some of the TV stuff he'd done.
Do you know what? I'm not too sure, but it's possible. I don't know if he did. Did he do the first Spielberg's first feature? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No. But I get the impression they knew each other just from stuff I've read and interviews I've seen. Because Spielberg initially was like, well, that's a bit too simple.
Yeah.
And but then I think when he saw it with the footage, he got it, and he described it as being like a siren warning you.
Yes.
And which
completely. I mean, that is what it is. It is there is something of dread lurking, and it's getting closer and closer and closer, and you better move. It's not in any way hidden, right? The idea for us as the audience, we are not in the position of the characters. We are with the shark.
And you hear that everywhere still. In very spoofed. I think it was in A Shark's Tale, and the two sharks are talking, and one of them starts singing it to the other one.
Yes,
and he gets all angry. He's like, "No, that's our theme tune." Which is
Airplane. They did it in 1980.
My favourite Jaws spoof, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, the fifth of one of the greatest franchises of all time, Police Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Miami Beach.
Of course, yes.
You see
Yeah,
the tail. Do you remember it?
I do
think
remember.
the music plays or something similar. They
Yeah,
might have had
yeah.
the rights.
Yeah.
And then Tackleberry, the one with all the gun, gets the gun, points it at the
Yeah.
shark, shouts something, and it turns around and it goes
All the
away.
way, yeah.
Hilarious.
Brilliant.
And
Genius.
yeah, but it was literally spoofed everywhere.
Yep.
Spoofed in kids' cartoons, that sort of thing. And I like that.
Not only was it spoofed, it was also knocked off, remade with other movies straight away. Doing
There was one called like Shark Attack.
yeah,
and that sort of-
Orca.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
just movies that are basically the same, just cheap and
Yeah.
not so good.
Yeah, not so good at all, and forgotten now.
Yeah.
More or less. And another thing I think works for it, the name, because even the name from the novel, he was saying that he'd come up with loads of ideas for it, a lot of which were pretentious, and then said to someone, this is the author talking about it. Have we said his name yet?
No,
It's
Peter. Oh God,
Benchley.
Benchley. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
He was saying that then
Also writer of the screenplay as well.
yeah.
It's important.
So the stuff was missing, we can blame him. Was saying that to come up with all these names, and the only word whoever he's talking to they agreed with was Jaws. Used the word Jaws.
Right.
So they just called it that.
Yeah, that's you could call it Shark.
Yeah.
Or Jaws. I mean, that would have been it. Yeah, so I can imagine some of the you can think of some of the pretentious titles you could come up with. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
So yeah,
the thing that lurks beneath the waves or something like that.
what is below us will eventually catch up.
Yes,
with us.
yeah, so
Yeah.
something
That's a
like
long
that.
title. But, yeah. So, but just quickly mention as well some of the stories on set. Really, you probably know some of these.
Maybe.
The iconic cage scene.
Yes.
Do you know how they done that?
No.
They used. I've got to get the correct term. A little person, is that what they call
Yeah,
it?
why not?
I don't want to be.
Yeah.
In a smaller cage,
Yeah.
everything's smaller.
I think I have heard this
So the
story,
shark
yeah.
that's bigger.
Yeah.
Now,
Brilliant.
What they got wrong was, firstly, he said he was deep sea trained. He wasn't. They'd done last minute and lied or whatever.
Oh, right. The stunt person.
Yeah. But it made everything smaller, including the oxygen.
Yeah.
But he needed the correct amount of oxygen, so he had less time.
Oh.
And he ended up. It all went wrong. At one point, because it was with real sharks, obviously, the shark got caught in it, and he ended up getting hit by the tail of the shark, and then never went back in there. And it was all
Right.
how they got that footage.
Well, it's amazing, really, because it's great. Like that footage is some of the best in the film, as far as obviously shark footage, as it is actually a real shark. But it's also really good. It's not boring, but it's not much, which is great because you don't want too much of it. You know?
I definitely think if it was really violent, it wouldn't be remembered.
No. Because you're not supposed to. I mean, I don't know if anyone. I'm not going to spoil the film necessarily, but you're not at that moment in the film. You're not supposed to know, right? You're supposed to be on sort of the edge of your seat with what's going on, and you're not sure if someone's alive or dead, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good the way that they did that. You know, that they didn't push it too much, and also they gave you a sense of, you know, how terrifying it would be to be in that position.
Yeah.
How, you know, your chances are slim.
Yeah. Another story I was going to mention, which is a bit of a spoiler, but does it matter? I mean, there's a 12-year-old boy who gets attacked by a shark in this film, which I think is something you would not do in anything now unless it was an 18. That's a personal.
Right.
Or if it was a over-the-top silly type
Sure.
film. He dragged down by the shark. You don't see the shark. And they filmed it loads and loads and loads, and bits of it kept popping up, and they couldn't get it right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, some of the crew just literally were under the water and held him down.
Right.
And fake blood everywhere, blah blah blah, which is also something you probably wouldn't do now.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No.
But 50 years ago,
Yeah.
when they were shooting this, it was nearly 50. Came out in 75, didn't it? So
Well, it was probably shot in 74.
yeah.
So
it went well over schedule.
Yeah.
But the budget, which is 7 million.
Yeah.
And do you know how much it made?
I was like, it's like 400 and something.
476.5 million. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
no, it's truly, would have completely unheard of at the time. Like, just would even have possibly imagined that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, and obviously this led the way for a few years later, films like Star Wars.
No, completely.
And
2 years later, Star Wars would have been probably in pre-production at the time this film had come out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But then I think Star Wars learnt a lot from the marketing.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
The simple trailers. It was one of the first, if not the first film to have lots of TV advertising. And I think as well, because it went over budget and there were stories of stress on set, it made the papers, because that's what it would have been then, and the magazines. And that's a bit of advertising accidentally.
Yeah.
I do think there's a theme with movies going over budget and wrong set on water, because you had in the 90s Waterworld, and people forget Titanic was a big worry.
Sure.
I don't know if it went over budget, but there was all over the media then that they spent all this money.
Well, yeah, it was huge. It was the biggest budget of all time at that time.
And that it wasn't going to be a hit.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's always going to be. I mean, that's, there's the media sensationalising the possibility of what could be. So of course they were going to do that. And I mean, it could have failed.
Yeah, definitely.
But didn't know.
It was in go back to those films. In Jaws, the shark kept going wrong. In Waterworld, an island sunk.
Yeah.
Bit of a different.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Waterworld is a completely different.
Yeah, so just set on water.
It's just set on water. I mean, crazy. I mean, that when you think of that film, you think of the set in that of that. It's just it's insane. Just I mean, everything now CGI. Just then no CGI, very little perhaps in it, but it's all model, actual real. Yeah.
Well, just in I think in this as well they used when they catch the wrong shark.
Yeah.
That was a real shark they used, and I think it's some of that in your brain. You mix that with when you see the fake one, and yes, there's a real shark. And I thought it was very clever.
Yeah, it is. Like I say, it's very well made. But I think if you just from now, like I say, I'm going to say again, if you've never seen the film before and you're going to watch it for the first time now, I think you could probably you would tell what was not real. I don't think it's there is reason why some people would have found it like off-putting, like out. You're out of it. You're like, no, it's fake.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But that to me is just is a shame and a sadness, because it's a movie, of course, and what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to recognise that, and just be hopefully taken in, because the story it's well told, and it is well told.
Yeah.
So I don't see why a shark not looking so real. And also, that much of a problem, really.
And it's a massive shark, which isn't real. I mean, that's my main thought of it. It is, like we said before, a monster.
It is, yeah.
So, but I stand by. I think it looks still pretty cool.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
Even like I say, even if it looks fake, it still looks cool.
Yeah.
I've never thought it didn't.
Yeah. It's a very blue film. I like it because
I
don't know why I just said that.
That's fine. I agree.
Yeah, just blurting things out. But interesting that the island it was set on in 2004, there was a real shark in the waters,
right.
and it didn't go like the film.
No,
see it all.
Was it a great white shark?
I think so. Yeah.
Really, a great white? Wow. Scary.
I've just got my notes, real sharp band there, but they all got together and helped it and got it back.
Yeah.
And because there are people who are like, this has given you the wrong perception of a shark. It's but as
true though.
Yeah,
that is true. I mean, the way that the shark behaves in this film is not how a real shark behaves. Exactly. It's not supposed to be seen, which is obviously the big part of why people, critics, people writing about it, are giving explanation. Not for what happens, but explanation for why it's been made in the first place. It's not supposed to be seen as a real shark. It is something other. Something is happening here that is not natural.
Yeah. So but it scared a whole generation.
Yeah.
And I find that very amusing, because it's the generation who will now say that all the kids nowadays are really soft. Not everyone says that. Some do, but they're all scared of a big shark, which
sharks are. Look, whether you're afraid of them or not, you should be mindful of them. I mean, just think of them as just whatever.
No, but I mean, they wouldn't paddle because of this film.
Well, certainly. I mean, fair enough.
Hilarious.
You know, what was it? There was a tagline or something about going back in the water.
You'd be scared to go back in the water.
Something
well,
like that.
On the advert it said, "Watch it before you go for a swim."
Yeah.
It's like, but that's,
You know, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as the people of the same generation being terrified of the Daleks and hiding behind the sofa. That was a thing.
That was a thing. I think, but again, very little kids, tiny children,
They want man up.
All right.
Yeah. I weren't scared enough as a kid. Apart from one of the Fraggles really scared me. Right. That's true.
Well, was none of this film as a when you how old were you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember I would have been under 10.
Yeah.
I think I felt it was tense, but I think in my head the fact I knew it was like a PG, I was like, it's not going to be that scary. That's how I saw it, which is a shame.
The bit that always got me, and again, it's weird when I think about fear. And
also, I was going to say, it might have been cut when I saw it on TV.
Oh, right.
I don't think, because you see, like, limbs and that sort of thing. Oh. So looking back, I've only just thought of that.
No, I definitely, when I was a kid, I definitely saw it, or I remember very clearly, like, these, there's, like, say, like, there's a leg that drops down.
I remember that, but I would have seen it more than once as a kid. So maybe the very first time. But then, would it have been cut, or would it have been on at night and my parents recorded it? I don't know.
But that part is scary, and it's not really even it's a weird thing, because like scary, like, oh, I can't watch this, it's too scary, or more like I said, dread. That's what I felt more like, feeling like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? Like that suspenseful feeling, more than like, I can't watch this, I have to go. I never felt like I have to run away from this film as a kid. Just like say like, oh, what's going to happen next kind of feeling. I mean, the bit like, again, spoiler whatever, Robert Shaw, what happens to him in the film, it's amazing the way it's done. I remember as a kid just being shocked. Like actually like almost paralysed by it, just like, I can't believe I just saw that happen, because you don't expect it to happen, what happens, and also it's done in a way that's quite matter of fact, when the film for the most part has music playing all the way through, especially the bits with the shark. This, I don't know if people notice this, is silent as far as music. There's a lot of sound, and I think that was obviously very important. Like, Spielberg wanted people to go, right, we're not going to have the music here. We want you to hear what's happening to this man. And that was like, I think as a kid, not understanding, like, the technical element of why that would be, but it having an effect, like an emotional effect, like you're being taken away from this being a film, and it being more like, oh yeah, this is something that does actually happen to people very rarely, but on occasion does happen, where people are chomped by a shark.
Did it won some Oscars? Won best score, best editing, and best sound. And you can't argue any of them. No, to be honest.
No, absolutely. All the technical elements to this film are great. They're just they're fantastic.
And there was a thing at the time of, was Spielberg stabbed at it because the film's nominated for Best Picture, and he wasn't nominated for Best Director.
Right.
But the Oscars have certainly praised him since this with other stuff.
Yes.
So I think, it's
fine. I get why, especially at the time it wouldn't have been, because they would have seen it, and rightfully so, in a way. And Spielberg felt the same about it, that it's a silly film. Ultimately, it's not a serious movie. It's not something that should be taken too seriously. And he was worried about being, put into that kind of box of, oh, I'm the guy who makes the monster movies, and he wanted to get away from that.
What did he make straight after this?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, he goes off and makes, not a monster movie, but, The Close Encounters, which, like you say, he goes off, leaves the studio. He wanted to get away from Universal because I think felt like he'd done Duel with them and stuff, and he wanted to move away and do a project that was really a very personal one to him, because this is one that he wrote. Like, this is the first time, I think, anyway, pretty sure, it's still early in his career, but I'm pretty sure this is the first one that's like his story. It's not something he's taken from another source.
That was the next movie, was it?
Pretty sure it's the next feature film he makes.
Yeah. and then that was a big hit as well.
Yeah, Dreyfuss again.
Yeah.
Who I think, I'm not sure of wording necessarily, but Spielberg thought of him as being sort of like a kindred spirit, almost like his doppelganger, or kind of like a brother or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why he would have worked with him again. But yeah, because Dreyfuss wasn't originally going to play that role. It was offered to loads of other people, and then to Dreyfuss, who turned it down, and then he realised the movie he'd just done before, which I've never seen and can't remember the name of. He saw like an early release of it and thought, God, people are going to hate this. It's going to end my career. And so he said, "Oh, can I still do that shark movie?" Because he thought that this is the only work he's going to be able to get. Okay. And he was like, "Yeah, sure, you can do it." Before
this or before Close Encounters? So
Jaws.
Oh, okay.
So him, getting the role was something that he turned down. After loads of other people had already turned it down as well, and then he comes back to it.
Well, this is because it's hard to believe a time before Spielberg was Spielberg. I reckon if you asked 10 people to name a director, 9 would say Spielberg.
Of course, absolutely.
But he'd had one other made for cinema film before this.
Yeah.
And and
he was young. Yeah, it wasn't like he had years and years and years experience in theatre and television. He was 26 years old.
It looks like he'd had a lot of years of experience in TV, but he'd just done a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So he's got loads of credits before, but it's all in the space of a few years.
Yeah, and it's not like you say he's got experience, but it's not like I say, it's not loads. It's not like he's got 10, 15 years, 20 years. It's not like he's been doing
someone like Richard Donner would have had 10 years experience before he made a film. And then since then he's pretty much been able to make whatever he wants since.
Sure, yeah.
If not even pretty much, he has.
Well, that's what they said to him. They said to him after the Jaws movie, if it was a success, that you can do whatever you want. You can make any movie you ever want to make.
Yeah, and he has.
Yeah.
And still going.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where else to go after that. I was going to... Should we just mention... not the reviews matter, but I like to give out the scores on the big websites.
Sure.
This one is pretty good. 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah.
4 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
And on the one I don't like, but other people do, so I'm going to say it.
The Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes, yeah. 97%.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. It sounds fair to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. I did say earlier that this is certainly my favourite Spielberg film, and I think for the kind of film that it is, a monster movie, where it's really about the dread of it being something that you don't know is there, and it's just going to come and get you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's got to be the best, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's.
I mean, there isn't really one I can think of that's as good, as well made.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's such a well made, such a well constructed film.
Yes,
and it's 2 hours, which I think is the perfect blockbuster length.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel long at all.
No, it doesn't. The pacing of the film is great. There are still tiny, and they are tiny. They're so minor in this film.
Yeah.
Moments that do. They don't bug me, but they just make me go, "Oh yeah, this is why I'm not a huge fan of Spielberg."
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's. I think the reason why I like it so much, when just thinking of him as a director, is because I don't think he's quite found himself yet.
Yeah.
And I quite like that about it. That it's got a lot of his influences and his his love growing up watching films. Like there's a lot of in there that you go, you can still really feel like his youthfulness as a filmmaker.
I mean, you mentioned he was 26 when he made it. Just how young he was at the time. Right, so Jaws is being shown at 8:25 on Saturday the 1st of July. And on Tuesday, the 4th of July, which is the date in the film, isn't it?
That is where it's the holiday, isn't it? It's the Americans, what do they have? I forget what it is. It's Independence Day, yeah.
Well, you all go out and you buy an independent record.
Yeah,
that's what it's about, isn't it?
That's it, I think so.
Yeah, looking forward to that, seeing it on the big screen. I have seen it before on the big screen.
Right.
But seeing it again, I'm going to go.
Good.
It's one of those. one of those you have to.
Everybody, please come and see the shark movie.
Just quickly mention, we've rabbited away.
We have talked a lot about it
for 45 minutes nearly. Another movie I'm very looking forward to is a movie coming out at King Street on the 14th of July. It's a French film called Smoking Causes Coughing.
Yes.
French director, I'm going to get his name wrong.
Yeah.
Should we not say it? He
Mr. Wazzo.
Mr. Wazzo.
Well, he is the guy who invented Mr. Wazzo. If people remember that sort of toy or a puppet that had some songs out.
I thought he'd done Flat Eric.
Is that the one?
Yeah, Flat Eric he done.
Is that? Why am I thinking Mr. Wazzo then? Is that something else?
I think
that's something else. Sorry then, Flat Eric. That's the one. Sorry, Mr. Wazzo.
He'd done a film a few years ago called Rubber.
Yeah.
A killer tire.
Yeah.
And a movie probably 3 or 4 years ago now, with the guy who was in The Artist called Deerskin.
Yes.
Which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. You really like that. I like that too. Yeah. We had that. When was that? 2 years ago now. I think.
A guy who buys a jacket and falls in love with it. Basically.
He does, and then wants to make a movie about it.
Yeah. I love that. And this has got quite a few showings. I'm looking forward to this. From Friday the 14th of July. 4 showings through to Thursday the 20th of July on the Sunday, Saturday and that Friday as well. So do you know much about it?
Not really. Certainly a comedy.
Yeah.
It's got puppets in it.
Superhero based.
But yeah, it's clearly, if you've seen any of his films before, like Rubber, Deerskin's going to have that same feel. The trailer has that kind of very quirky, kind of a bit surreal, quite very absurd, just humour that is funny, but you're not quite sure why you're finding it funny, maybe, kind of thing. But it looks good. It looks fun. You're not going to see it anywhere else close by, so. I might even. I would just book my ticket for the Saturday for it now, so I don't do anything else. Yeah, is my plan. It's certainly a film that I think if you're interested in seeing something that's not the mainstream, then you got to come and check this one out.
Okay. Quick question for you.
Yes.
Do you love or hate Barbie?
This is an interesting question because the Barbie film's coming out, and that is a part of their selling. Their appeal.
Oh, you are aware of what I was about to do.
Because it's in there in the advert that if you love Barbie, go see the film. If you hate Barbie, go see the film, kind of thing. And I personally don't really care either way about Barbie, but I'm interested in the movie. The movie looks like it could be fun, should be fun. Yeah. I'm glad that we're showing it because it certainly is, from what I can tell from the trailer, the sort of film that we would put on. It goes with our general kind of, sort of on the fringes of mainstream kind of thing. It's got a lot of big names, got a lot, in it. But
it's the director what interests me.
Yeah. So is it
Greta Gerwig, who actually
shown her films.
She was in Frances Ha.
Oh, a long time. I said a long time ago. What was that? It was probably about 15 years ago or something.
So I think she might have co-written as well.
Yeah,
she's definitely in it. But she's done some good films since most recently Little Women. She's done a version of that. That's right. We showed that as well. And was it Ladybug? Is it Ladybug? Did she do Ladybug? I like that. Amy Adams was in that.
Was she? I can't remember who was in it. My mind's completely drawing a blank on who was in it, but I'm pretty sure she wrote and directed that one.
Okay, that was a good film. Very good film.
I think she was nominated for that for the Oscars, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. And it's Margaret Robbie, who is most well known for Harley Quinn, probably, but she's one of these, probably one of the biggest actresses in the world as we speak. I was very impressed with the film Babylon. I think that's a Marmite film, but some of us liked it a lot.
It's all right.
And I haven't really seen her give a bad performance.
I don't think so. No.
And perfect for this role. Ryan Gosling, apparently this is his comeback role. Apparently he hasn't done anything for a while. Yeah,
but this is also what I hear. I'm not sure if that's true, but he was, for a time, about 5 to 10 years ago, in pretty much everything, it seems. If he wasn't lead, he was often supporting roles.
Yeah.
In a supporting role, he was just seemed to be in and then sort of just sort of disappeared from the public eye, at least.
Yeah.
For being like, he's in everything can't see him. Where is he? And now he's back in a movie where it's probably made for him. Really, I think he is a sort of Ken type as far as his image goes.
Yes, almost speak for himself.
Yeah.
And what I'm excited about is Will Ferrell is the villain.
Yeah.
Which he hasn't. Same with him, really. He hasn't been in that much lately.
No.
Last thing I could think of him in was a Netflix Eurovision movie.
He was in Apple TV. You're right about the Netflix. I remember that one.
Yeah.
But he was also in an Apple TV series with someone else who's very similar. I'm trying to think who the actor was. Can't remember.
Okay.
Darn it. But yes, that was a show that was on Apple TV, which of course very few people would have seen because very few people have Apple TV.
Yeah, I don't really watch TV, so.
But that's on the computer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apple TV,
yes.
Or on your phone you could watch it. I mean, this is it. You don't have to have a television now to watch television.
Yeah, so he's having a bit of a comeback, I think, because he's doing a film called Strays as well, where he voices a dog.
Yeah, heard about that one. Yeah.
And Kate McKinnon's in it as well, who, if you're not aware,
playing a small part, I believe.
Is she? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah. From the trailer, it looked like she was not in it very much. But
the fact she's in the trailer,
and,
as a very talented comedian who,
yes,
I think deserves to be in a hit movie because I'm not sure she has been.
Possibly not. You might be right about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it is one of those that a Barbie movie to me shouldn't be appealing, but I think the way it's going to be done, it reminds me of how they done in the 90s, like the Brady Bunch. They sort of spoofed what it was. It looks like that.
Yep, does.
But probably with more credibility than that film.
Maybe more money.
Yeah.
More money, bigger names.
Yeah.
But I like Brady Bunch movie. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, right.
And I say that seriously.
Yeah.
It was a funny film.
Well, the writing team behind that, Bonnie and Terry Hunt, who done Wayne's World and Coneheads around the same time.
Yeah.
I thought I was a massive fan of them because they done Further Up from the Sun as well. Mm-hmm. But I've looked at some of the more recent stuff they've done. I'm probably not as big a fan as I thought. Well, I don't want to moan about anything on here, so I'll tell you after.
Oh, okay.
Look them up, people.
Okay. Well, they just done stuff.
They done that 90s show. That was
okay.
Okay. So, I'll let them off though. For
all right. Yeah. I mean, those movies in the 90s were funny.
Yeah.
They were. I thought for what they were doing it right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So cool. Right, we went a bit off topic.
Yeah,
I did.
That's right.
I think we should probably wrap it up. We've been talking nearly an hour. We have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. But Jaws, Jaws is a classic. I mean, a lot to talk about with that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's lots going on at the cinema. So don't forget to check out the website.
Yes,
things are updated very regularly.
They are.
Which is just King Street Cinema. Type it in, you'll find it.
Yeah. Can't miss it.
The King Street Cinema on Facebook.
That's right.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
And also, if you become a member, there's more exclusive stuff you can book.
Very true.
Before, and there's special screenings. Loads to do. So thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Quick rating out of 5 for Jaws the Revenge.
2.
Fair dues, isn't it? Fair dues. Thank you very much. We'll be back with another podcast fairly soon.